What we're gonna do to his S52. For those of you who know that this came out of James E30. For those of you who don't, this came out of James E30. So this swap was done 10, 12, 13 years ago.
Because his car was originally swapped by you before you swapped it just recently.
Yeah, so he bought the car already swapped from a customer who bought it from the original customer that we swapped it for. So, you know, of course, it's only natural that we're gonna perfect the swap over the years.
Sure.
So it is intriguing to me to see how we would do things back in the day or when we first started, but now we get to redo the swap to 2024
to your specifications today. Yeah.
So, you know, basically running down everything we did or we didn't do.
Got it.
So, you know, back in the days, there was probably about 5 to 6 cars that we didn't change the boosters on, so we modified the intake manifold.
Right, because normally the way they do it is they swap the booster, because otherwise the intake manifold interferes with it, right? And so you guys actually,
we actually modified, we cut into the manifold on the number 6 runner. There was a lot of back and forth on the forums about this, blah, blah, blah.
Because this was like before it was really common to do the swap, right?
Yeah, and then, we didn't want to, we wanted to see if we can do it without doing the masters.
Got it.
I mean, the boosters and the masters, but ultimately, we kind of phased away from this because...
I mean, it's kind of crazy, dude, like, to cut the whole thing out and have to...
What's crazy is there's 0 horsepower loss. We used to have a dyno. We dynoed cars with our modified intake manifold. We dynoed cars without a modified intake manifold. 0 difference. Tried and true. The only reason why we stepped away from doing that, it was because it ended up taking a little bit more time.
Sure.
Probably a lot more time than it was worth. And honestly, it was just like, not everyone knows how to work with fiberglass or work with plastic or melt 2 things together. But anybody can swap a booster out.
Totally.
So that's why we decided to phase this out, just start swapping the boosters. In your car, we are gonna retain this.
I like that.
We're gonna retain this. It works, 0 problems. And there's no reason to change your booster.
Yeah, I mean, if it's already been done, then why bother swapping it out?
And then, like I told you before, I think maybe I'm exaggerating if I say 6 months, but less than 6 months before we ended up swapping James's S54 out, we did the head gasket on this.
Right, so
it had this random blown head gasket between cylinders. It's kind of funny because when we were DMing, I was like, man, this guy probably money shifted it.
Yeah, well, he thought he did. He was like, dude, I think my engine's knocking or something, and he thought he blew the engine.
Yeah, of course. And then I was like, but then to my surprise, like, oh man, it was a blown head gasket.
Yeah, so basically from here on up, it's good. You don't need to touch it, right?
Yeah, we don't even need to touch it. We're gonna do the oil pan gasket, do a few things here and there just because we have it out. Why not? But this is where we start typically. If we're gonna get this engine used from wherever we source it, as long as compression and leak down check out, we end up degreasing everything, going through, cleaning, replacing, and making this thing look neat.
Yeah, awesome.
Or as new as we can make it look.
Absolutely.
After this, we're gonna change water pump, this, that. We're gonna thin out your harness.
Okay.
We're not gonna be running this harness actually from an E34.
So you change this, so you don't do this anymore.
So we definitely don't do this because 100% of our swaps nowadays are OBD2. We basically phased out doing OBD1 conversions or doing OBD1 swaps just because it's outdated. 12 years ago, there wasn't very many tuning options.
Totally.
So OBD1 was the way to go, less problems. Nowadays, if you're not doing OBD2 engine management for stock ECU, you're living in the Stone Age. Believe me when I tell you, you wanna go OBD2 on these swaps. It's way better. You can read codes, you can check live data that you can't easily do with an OBD1. Not saying that you cannot do it, it's just not everybody has the equipment to do it. And I don't even have some of the equipment because I've phased it out. Like I'm over it.
You see the guys on the forums that are selling like the 2003 laptop that has the software on it so you can read it, and that's like
and then everyone's like 413 ECU with the chip and this and that. You know, to each their own. I'm recommending everybody do OBD2 because it's way better.
Hell yeah.
That's how we do it, and it works. Tried and true.
Love it.
So,
well, it's pretty simple then. So just clean it up, change some seals.
Add some stuff that it's missing, AC bracket, power steering, so forth, so forth.
And we're putting AC in this thing.
Putting AC back in this thing.
I've never had an E30 with working AC before.
You know, back in the days, in your high school days and all that, we didn't really care. I know I didn't really care about AC, but now it's like, I don't see why people don't just leave it.
Exactly. I daily drove this car when I was in high school, and I got away with it back then. And I'd just be sweaty and roll the windows down, but I'm a working man now. I gotta have AC, you know what I'm saying?
That's again, if you don't have AC nowadays, sorry, but you're doing it all wrong.
Yep.
So let's get to it.
All right.
Freshen this thing up and take it to the next step.
All right, man. I'm stoked.
Wonder why the Vegas is different. Wonder why the Vegas is different. Cutout.
Yeah, no fault cutout. Yeah, man, how you doing?
Good.
I'm going to the night. Yeah, you know, I was driving up and it's a little nostalgic because I've had this thing for, you know, like what, 14, 15 years now, and it's always had an M20. I've never driven an E30 with a different engine than an M20 before, so I'm kind of nervous. Like, I don't know what to expect, but I think I'm gonna be pretty stoked. So
I'm pretty sure you're gonna be stoked.
Yeah, but it was just that last, because you know, this is an ETA car. It had the 2.7 in it. Last year I swapped in the 2.5, which to me was like, I thought that was gonna be enough. So, you know, you're going from like 120 to 170 horsepower, but it's just not enough. So. Still,
you're definitely gonna like it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. James was telling me it's the best engine that he's ever had. So.
Oh, especially when you're 30.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm super stoked.
Well, let's do this.
Let's do it. This is my 1986 325 ES. I've had this car for about 14 years. I bought it in 2010 for $300 back when these were still $300 cars, believe it or not. And I've done pretty much everything on it in the meantime. It was my daily driver for years, and it was always super slow with the ETA engine and everything. And then over time, I've upgraded the suspension, the wheels, interior, and recently I did an engine swap to it. So I swapped in a 2.5 liter M20 from a 325i, thinking that was gonna be enough power, but it's not. Unfortunately, I love this car, but it is a little too slow for my tastes. And like, it immediately became clear that I need a little bit more power. And as it turns out, he just yanked that S52 out of his car in favor of an S54. And he gave me a pretty good deal on the S52. So I couldn't really say no. And now we are 24 valve swapping my E30. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you. I'm an M20 guy, I think. I've always thought the M20 was the right engine for the E30. And so it feels like I'm kind of committing a cardinal sin by putting the S52 in here. But again, I really can't say no. And I have a feeling that hopefully it'll change my mind, but we'll see. I lowered it so it's on ground control conversion kit with Eibach springs and Coney yellows. So it rides pretty good, although I have it super slammed, so it is a little stiff, but stance is life. I've done full Euro conversion, so I've done the bumpers, and I've got a little bit of a Frankenstein body kit. So we've got a BBS front air dam, BBS skirts, and a Zender rear apron. I have a spoiler that didn't quite work. I have an E21 spoiler that I had on there and it didn't really fit, so it's spoilerless at the moment. But I love the Euro look. It's like my favorite vibe, and I know James also has the Euro thing going on, and so we're gonna have a little spy versus spy action with the black and white cars by the end of this, which I'm super stoked about. Interior-wise, I put in these cool Koenig seats. It's Pacific blue interior from the factory, and I'd love to keep it blue eventually. Eventually I want to get this either reupholstered or get some blue Recaros to put in there. But yeah, I've got a Momo steering wheel, pretty basic interior otherwise. Although I did add some cup holders, and that's one of the best mods I've ever done on this thing. So yeah, so, oh, and I'll show you the engine too. So this thing was super dirty and gross for years, but so I put this M20 in about 1.5 years ago, and I cleaned the engine up and I sprayed it and everything. So it's actually really not in bad shape right now. I just feel kind of guilty taking this engine out because I spent all this time and money putting it in here. But again, I think it's the right choice. So we'll see. Also, James told me that he would only sell me the engine on one condition, that the car is all one color and doesn't have mismatched parts like the air dam right here. So one condition is that I do have to paint it as well. So sounds like we're gonna be taking care of some paint on this thing.
All right, today's the day we rip out the M20 out of Max's E30. This is the car that Max has had for a very long time. Originally the 325E or ES. He did the whole I conversion. But today's the day we rip it all apart, strip the engine bay, and it goes out to the body shop to get an engine bay refresh, probably paint the front valence, and clean up the car for him. All right, Max's car at the body shop. As I told you guys before, we're doing an engine bay, shaving off all the unnecessary brackets. He had a little bit of surface rust on the transmission tunnel. It's been cured. Went over a couple things with Max, told him that the radius support was a little messed up. The whole radius support was not messed up, it was literally just this corner. So we are gonna section it, as the guys already started doing. Replace the little L piece that goes here, I guess if you wanna call it, but it's the lower and one of the uprights. They pretty much have this thing not almost completed, but they've done a lot of work to it. If all goes well, in the next few days, they're gonna shoot some primer, prep it. You'll see it in paint next, but one step down, 1,000 more to go. All right, we got Max's car back from the body shop. If you remember, we tore it all apart, got the drivetrain out, stripped the engine bay. As you can see, Daniel's stripping and cleaning up the wiring so that we could get it all nicely wrapped. We're also doing a little bit of thinning out, weeding out of the harness for things that Max doesn't need. But I wanted to also tell you guys that we're gonna use this car to show you how we would perform an S52 swap, basically from start to finish. Now, there are some small key things that we're not gonna be changing because this engine and swap that we're gonna be doing on this car was already done on another car. We're just transferring it over. It was in James' S52 E30, now it's gonna go into Max's car. So there are some small things we're not gonna change because they're already done. But for the most part, you guys are gonna see how we will be performing an S52 swap. And in our eyes, this car's not gonna be what I would call the perfect S52 swap because, you know, I don't have free range of doing every single thing that I want, but this is gonna be a pretty spot on or as close to perfect swap in my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So in my perfect scenario, strip everything, get the bay painted, everything's super nice, clean up the wiring, brackets shaved off where they need to be shaved off. So those of you who aren't familiar, and for those of you who are, normally we have the airflow meter brackets right here, the relay bracket here, a couple small grounds and little studs that we don't use on that side. So it's ready. Follow along, ask questions, comment, whatever you guys want to do. Your input is valuable to us. Cut. Blast or wash it, just blast it and then deburr. You know what deburr, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Clean it.
Yeah.
I'll mark it, we'll weld it, and weld the fit in there. Clean this, take all the plating off. Damn. You can't record me breaking my English to speak to this guy. I don't want him talking shit.
You're still recording.
I mean, it's fine because he's gonna. So just take all the paint off. Okay. So I'm gonna speak to you like if you were American.
Yeah,
so
okay.
if you don't understand me, just go yeah. And then after once the camera shuts off, you ask me again. So all of this is to be clean. No paint, no like straight metal.
Okay.
So I'm gonna weld onto here. I'm gonna weld both of these. I'm gonna weld here. So if you're gonna blast it, or grind it, whatever you want to do. are we struggling out of this shit?
Just crazy because it wants to be twisted a little. Yeah, it doesn't want to be flat.
Why would you use a shifter? Wonder why?
So just make it flat. So if you ever change the shifter, does that have an issue?
That's
a lot.
That's on the truck.
Like this, it's gonna kick the shifter over this way.
I would just make it straight.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doing that because he has the wrong hardware on the boot.
And two, that shit's not centered in the hole. Okay.
All right, a little update on Max's E30 with the S52 swap. As you can see, the engine is in, as you saw last time. I'm gonna give you guys a rundown. For those of you who have zero experience swapping in an S52 or 24 valve engine into your E30. You start off with an E36, S52, M50, M52, whatever you wanna do. You get yourself an E34 525 oil pan with the pickup tube. This is pretty much the best, cheapest way to do this swap. So you throw the pan on there, E36 engine mount arms. We use E46 M3 engine mounts flipped upside down like we showed you before. We reinforce his front subframe. Power steering system is E36 or E34 M50 pump with not custom lines, but what we do is we utilize the low pressure from an E36 to the reservoir, pump to reservoir. From reservoir to rack, we use an E30 short fitting, which is the 1/2-inch hose, and then we just use really good oil line. Now the high pressure hose, a lot of people use the factory high pressure line. It works. There's a couple different models that work better than others. We don't do that. We just get lines made. Max already had the Chase Bay power steering reservoir kit, so we just reused it. I do not like that these fittings don't swivel, so we had no choice but to route it this way. Here's your ground strap. Moving along, ZF 5-speed trans comes in any E36 M3, some early 525s. A couple 99, 2000 E46 325s, 328s, 323s had this trans. E30 5-speed M20 trans brace. One of our stainless steel clutch lines, which James's car already had. We just repurposed it on this car. New clutch slave from an E36. E30 M3 or E36 5-speed manual drive shaft. For the differential, you can go 293, you can go 325, 315, you name it, you can put it. People even leave the 373. I would never do that with that trans. Max's car for right now is gonna be running a 293 LSD. because we couldn't find the right ratio that he wanted in time. So this is gonna be his temporary diff. It's gonna work perfectly fine. He already had the ground control coilovers and a couple other bits. Exhaust. This was an exhaust that I built for James's car before it was James's car. And this is our track only exhaust, which is 2.5 crushed bent, aluminized steel coated piping, vibrant muffler with our custom tips, resonator in the middle, 2-inch downpipes, primaries, whatever you want to call them. No, them being 2 inches isn't gonna hurt performance in any way. For those of you who are worried or wanna go bigger in the primaries, you don't need to, especially on a bone stock S52. Besides that, on the AC system, for those of you who are gonna run AC, standard AC compressor bracket, standard AC compressor from any E36 or 525. This one right here is just for mock-up right now because we're getting Max a rebuilt unit, which will be coming. So besides that, that pretty much sums up the undercarriage. We'll move on to the top end. We're here with Max again. Max, your car is pretty much buttoned up. What do you think? We're gonna run it down, but what do you think?
This is a lot to process. I mean, this is like wild for one. It looks immaculate. I mean, like, I don't know. It's cleaner than it's ever been.
Yeah, we gave it a quick and dirty polish.
I've been having dreams about driving it over the last couple of weeks, and it's like, I don't know, it's honestly surreal.
Well, I hope it's everything that you've been dreaming about, which I think it will be. So I'll just run everything by, tell you what we did. So obviously, when you dropped it off, we said we're gonna rip out the engine bay, get the engine bay, rip out the engine to get the engine bay resprayed. So here it is.
Beautiful.
All resprayed, gave it a mild shave, all the brackets, relocated a few things.
Because before it was disgusting. I had like wires and shit everywhere.
Yeah, and then there was brackets and stuff that you weren't even using, even with the M20.
Right. Because that was a swap too.
Yeah,
I did
correct.
A pretty amateur job.
And now you have AC again, so we went ahead and did full AC system.
Yeah, well, you say again, I've never had AC in this car.
Oh, sorry, you have AC parts back on your car.
Yeah, all right, we're in the 21st century now.
Yeah, but you know, James's old S52 swap, exactly how it was on his car, just a little bit more revamped to how we do things nowadays. Radiator, no expansion tank, our beauty cover. This is the diesel E36 fan blade for those of you who want to be running fan clutches. On S52 cars, 80% of the time or 75% of the time, we run the fan clutch simply because it's less to deal with. They work, and for street cars, I highly recommend them.
Because an electric fan.
Well, there's more to it, or you know, you have. Some people want them on a switch, then they forget to turn them on, things of that nature. So we like to just simplify stuff. So on the engine bay, we got the early model style big air box to accommodate no expansion tank, M50 manifold. This is the S52 factory exhaust manifolds with our street track exhaust. You're still running the factory E30 booster, factory 30 master. We just rebent your lines, bled the system, but that about sums up the swap. And then of course we color matched your front valence.
Yeah, dude, that was a deal. James told me if I was gonna take this engine from him, it's gotta all be one color. So
we're 90% there. You're one mirror shy of that, but I think the car is totally revamped. It looks totally different. It's not as slammed as it was when you dropped it off. That was simply because we didn't want to be struggling, racking it up all the time.
I noticed.
So we cranked it up. You said 4x4. I don't know, man. This is still pretty low for most of the people that drive their E30s.
Something about that, but other than that, dude, I mean, it looks incredible. I can't believe it.
Awesome. Well, now I want you to drive it, and I want you to give the people your 2 cents.
Yep. We're gonna find out if it was all worth it, or if I'm gonna be an M20 boy who's regretting his decision. All right, we are gonna fire it up for the first time. Very excited. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. All right, let's hit it. All right, we're gonna do first pull. See what we think. Dude, hell yeah. Dude, that's sick. Oh my God. Dude, okay, all right, I'm sold. I think I'm a 24 valve guy now. I get it. Dude, this is too much fun. This is like dangerous fun. You wanna do some flybys?
Yeah.
Cool. Dude, hell yeah, I'm stoked. This rules.